It's September in rural Illinois, and police officers are assembling around a family home. They're searching for Ricky Chekevdia, a young boy who hasn't been seen for almost 2 years. At first, there was no sign of him, but then officers inside the property noticed something strange about a dresser against one of the walls. Michael Chekevdia and Shannon Wilfong had always had a troubled on and off relationship. Even when their son, Richard, known as Ricky, was born in 2002, the arguments didn't stop. However, the parents initially worked out an agreement to share custody of the young boy. Back in 1982, Michael had joined the Illinois Army National Guard in West Frankfort, close to his hometown in Royalton, Illinois. But even though he found himself deployed to Iraq soon after Ricky arrived, he appeared to maintain a close bond with his son. In fact, he even had a portrait of the pair commissioned while overseas. In 2004, Michael then returned to Illinois, but his problems with Shannon continued. Allegedly, she regularly refused to let Ricky spend time with his father, violating the terms of their joint custody agreement. Then in 2007, things took a turn for the worse. That fall, a court date was set to discuss Michael's visitation rights with his son. However, Shannon failed to show. Faced with a difficult decision then, the judge granted Michael temporary custody of the boy. However, before the ruling could take effect, Shannon and Ricky disappeared. In November 2007, Shannon and Ricky were officially listed as missing people. Then in December that same year, a warrant was issued for Shannon's arrest. It soon became apparent, however, that things weren't quite so clear-cut as they may have seemed. In fact, it emerged that Shannon and her mother, Diane Dobbs, had both accused Michael of abusing Ricky in the past. Had Shannon run away with her son to protect him from the alleged abuse? Diane certainly seemed to believe so. And while police searched for Ricky, she focused her attention on a smear campaign against Michael, her daughter's former partner. Just 3 miles away from Michael's home, Diane stuck placards in front of her own house. On them, moreover, she handwrote accusations that Michael was a child abuser. Apparently, she also distributed flyers in the local community, even going so far as to hand them out at Michael's church. Naturally, perhaps, Michael began to suspect that Diane knew something about Ricky's disappearance. She nevertheless permitted the police to conduct a search of her property, though, and yet they found no sign of the missing boy. For 2 years then, Ricky's location remained a mystery, although Michael continued to suspect that Diane knew more than she was letting on. Then in 2009, police received a tip-off that led them back to Diane's house once more. So on September 4th, they arrived at the 2-story property in a rural area of Franklin County, Illinois. And while Ricky was initially nowhere to be seen, their search eventually led them to take a look behind a dresser that was pushed up against a wall. When officers moved the dresser aside, moreover, they discovered a hidden hole cut into the wall. And when they peered into the darkness within, they saw Ricky and his mother hiding in the tiny space. Alarmingly, the chamber was just 12 feet long and only 5 feet wide. Apparently, officers could not even stand up inside the space, which was just 4 feet tall. Had Ricky really been kept hidden in the secret room for 2 whole years? As the boy, now 6, was taken into custody, those present experienced a heartbreaking sight. "We let him out of the patrol car and he ran around like he'd never seen outdoors," Master Sergeant Stan Diggs from the Illinois State Police Department was reported as saying. It was actually very sad. He was very happy to be outside. He said he never goes outside. In light of the discovery, police arrested Shannon on charges of felony child abduction, while Diane faced charges of aiding and abetting. However, while out on bail, Diane invited the television show Good Morning America to hear her side of the story. According to Diane, the secret room had already been there when she originally purchased the house some 14 years previously. Furthermore, she claimed that it was used for storage and that she had only thought to hide Ricky there once she saw that police were closing in. When asked by an interviewer in 2009 about how long Ricky had spent in the secret room, Diane replied, "In 2 years' time, maybe 5 minutes." In fact, she claimed that her grandson had enjoyed total freedom during the years that he had spent in her home. "My grandson had the run of the house," Diane continued. "When we were outside, we would go fishing, we would do weenie roast, we've done fireworks on the 4th of July. He's helped me plant my flower garden in the back, he's got his own garden in the back." However, when reporters spoke to Diane's neighbors, they discovered that Ricky had seemingly never been spotted outside the home. Sadly, the police who rescued Ricky echoed this sentiment too. Apparently, it was obvious to them that the boy had little contact with the outside world. Just hours after appearing on Good Morning America then, Diane was rearrested. Meanwhile, Ricky was placed with one of Michael's relatives while the case was investigated. Surprisingly, Ricky's in good spirits, reported Diggs. For someone who's been isolated in that house with no other outside beings, he's a very social, very polite, very talkative little boy. On September 19, 2011, Shannon pleaded guilty to the charges against her and was fined $1,500 and given 2 years probation for her role in Ricky's abduction. Michael, meanwhile, was granted permanent custody of his son. Furthermore, the next year he retired from the military to focus on being a single father to Ricky, hopefully finally finding the peace that his family have long sought.